Side note, my mum's name, I'm not going to say her actual name, Islamic name. Let's call her Maria. Sorry, yeah, I can't. It's not Islamic, and my wife wanted it, so I support it. She frowns before immediately getting cross and raised her voice. Oh, please, I know my child more than she does, and I know you don't actually want that. You clearly want your offspring to have a nice Christian name, she refers to herself, and a devout Christian like me. Why are you being selfish? I just want to be remembered in the family after I pass. She was 52 years old at the time of the story. Think about the woman who raised and helped you become the man you are today, who stopped you from making bad decisions that are bad to Jesus. I bet your wife has intoxicated my baby's mind with evil thoughts against God. I was a little ticked off by her at this point. Mom, calm down. I'm not your baby anymore, and I can make my own decisions. This is ridiculous. Why are you so disrespectful? Are you pissed? You're not the boy I raised. She then called my dad from upstairs. Now, my dad's never been a bad guy, just a bit selfish at times. He's mainly bald-head, orange, white, beard guy. So my dad comes rushing down, with my mum starts bawling about and I'm on the wrong side. My sweet mum and dad is giving about how I need to apologise to my mother about stressing her out. He then demanded anything she said and named the baby after her. Then he promptly asked me, well, before I told me, to do the same with his name. I just left afterwards. I didn't see them again until the birth of my child. Of course, we put the original name down for our child like we intended, but my mother had apparently been telling everyone, and I mean everyone, about how we were going to name the child after and how she would be just like her, with pale skin and dark brown hair with blue eyes. I'm not sure how she got to that conclusion, but in her words, God always finds a way. She said that to everyone, friends, family, colleagues. So imagine my surprise when I started getting messages congratulating me on baby Maria. Also, she has my surname, aka her surname, and a few messages got back and contacted them. They informed me that my parents told them about the contribution of my mother or my father. She said apparently that I was married to a white Christian. I was becoming a pastor, and worst of all, they showed me images on Mum's Facebook and social media of me with scruffy hair, a beard, and a leather jacket, compared to me with short hair, clean shaven, with church clothes on, taken at different times, and her messages about how I'm misguided as a rebellious youth, and that she helped me find God, and then I was straightened out and became who she was. The message that still annoys me to this day is, my son is going to be the next Nicky Cruz, and I feel safe knowing I helped him at making a person who will spread the word of Jesus and will make the world a better place. I was so annoyed that she basically rewrote my entire life without me knowing, or how she wanted me to be. I'm sure though, when I got to their house after my baby's birth, we went to my mother. Obviously, while not really so pleased, the baby didn't look like her long. Before asking, when is the baptism? Mom, it is Islamic, remember? The baby is also Islamic. What? How did you do this before Maria June? First of all, her name is not Maria. Second of all, I'm not some boy you can play with. How dare you? After all I've done for you, you haven't done anything to me other than be a pain. Come on, Maya, let's leave. We then left the party because my mother was dead, crying with no amount of praying to save us from a father's sin. The worst part? She then keeps contacting my wife, telling her that she was present from her and my religion, and how she should get a divorce if she wants to go to heaven. That type of stress should not be put on a new mum. She also keeps telling me to divorce her and come back to the church and let her see her grandbaby. She continues to call her Maria Jr. and refuses to accept the name we gave her. So yeah, that's my story. Thanks for reading. Oh my god, dude, that is mental. If you are watching this video with me, first of all, I'm sorry that your mum acts like this. Second of all, if you want to give us a video update, get down in the comments and I'll get it. I'll leave it. I was thinking, like, telling people to stay away from their phone. If you think about it, it's such a weird thing to say, like, don't have a relationship with your parents. And I'm sitting there in my room saying that to them. But once again, I find those words wanting to pass through the mind. How can you have a relationship like this that refuses to call you by their actual name, doesn't change your religion, and demands that you do? your wife.
Building these cars requires a lot of expensive new materials. What if you could create a supply chain where old cars were the new materials? Circular economies like this bring profit and sustainability together so they feed each other. It's all a matter of economics. With SAP, you can measure opportunity and create end-to-end solutions that benefit both planet and profit. That's economics. And it all comes together with SAP. Bamboo HR, yes. Great people, which is really hard. But here's the thing, hiring the right people the right way leads to good retention, smooth onboard retention, performance management that actually works. Retention, not to mention
What would you do if you found out that your ideal partner literally had the same father as you? Well, unfortunately for this couple, that is exactly what happens in this story. Let's see what happens next. I discovered that my wife and I share the same biological father. We have a child on the way. What do we do and what happens next? My wife and I have recently discovered that we share the same dad. We've been together for 8 years and married earlier this year. We own our own home and we're expecting our first child in March 2020. Our biological father is still alive, but we don't want anything to do with him because of this, and because he was a trashy person. From what I understand, my father, who is persona non grata in both households, did not remain in our mother's lives for long. And while I know a brief bit of info about him, my partner didn't, as he was an all-around trashy person. Neither of our mums named him as a partner, and in my wife's case, she knew her mum's long-term boyfriend as a partner, while I gained a stepdad. Our parents do not know about this, and we're not even sure if we should say anything. I won't disclose how we found out, but I suppose I just wanted a bit of exposure. And my mum, who is one of my close friends, admitted to me at a rough moment that her daughter's dad was sexual, and this, combined with other info, made it clear. We've had a private DNA test taken, and the results suggested we were half siblings. Despite this, our feelings for each other have not changed, and we do not want to split. We've known each other since starting school, and we've been through some hard times together. I'm afraid of what this means for us and our child, if that means that he'll have any health complications in life. My wife doesn't believe in abortion personally, and does not want to wish to terminate her first pregnancy, nor do I want her to. So, see it through, and hopefully so hopefully that is better luck than some. I know incest is against the law, and I'm terrified that we can be found out if anyone or if they, I know they do this, take a DNA sample of our son for genetic testing to make sure he has no health problems and what could happen to us. I'm not even sure what to do, except maybe ensure that we do not have horrifying children, even if our partner or something instead. I don't want anyone to find out, so I'm keeping it close to them, and I will not let anything break me. What could happen to us? What can or should we do? Should I just bury it? I am an idiot. So, what I just read there was originally posted in r/legal advice UK, so OP was clearly looking for legitimate advice as to what to do next. It's our advice in that comment was some very good advice. Here we go. We can obviously not advise you to commit criminal offences, which means that if you don't have illicit sex now, that would be an offence under S64 and S65 Offences Act 2003 here in the UK. But, the second is likely to be okay, as the requirement is, person A knows, who is expected to know who is and length, which of course you didn't. So, that previous activity was most likely to crime. Assuming you essentially have or refrain from in the future, then your main issue was practicalities. You can try to hide it, of course. What if your child has a DIY DNA testing in the future, gambling with the consequences, or you can deal with it now? The main immediate of a marriage is to increase validity. Half brothers and half sisters are included in the Marriage Act of 1958. 1939. If it were to be found out through some means that you were married, then the Queen's Proctor could bring in action in the family division to recognise the marriage void. As a child, the local authority would almost certainly be involved in the play, and being one different example of where this has happened before. That's what you should do, though. I'm afraid that is not professional. This is not a unique situation, but of course, it will need very specialised services. So to sum up, what's happened already hasn't really significantly legal to know, but what happens in the future will be, and your marriage technically is always going to find out, but we have to update not only as to what they decided to do next. I originally asked for some advice on the insurance last year. I want to let people know that our child was born and is a healthy but very tiring baby. We've taken steps to check on their health, and there is nothing out of it. Thank you to everyone for giving us advice and assurance. Kind of new parents can do. Our biological father has apparently died over the winter, and hopefully anything new will die. My wife and I reaffirm that we will stay together no matter what. We will be taking care of you. We don't have any more biological children, so we minimize the risk to a child. She's got a baby brain, and if it did come to it, we would consider fostering or adoption at a stage. I don't know if we looked into that. It's not on our list of priorities right now. Yeah, thank you. So that's that debacle. I mean, honestly, one of the worst things that could possibly happen to you. Imagine being in that situation, finding out that your wife is actually your stepsister. Unbelievable. If you are watching on YouTube, get in the comments down below. Answer me honestly, how would you react? What would you do? Would you keep the baby private? It's so deep. I don't know what to say. It's a crazy situation, and wow, you and your wife are so sorry. Alright then, that is the first story of today's episode done. Let's move on to the second, slightly more light-hearted.
Hi, I'm Andrew software that has well, try it free at AmpleFocus.com.
I don't care if you're starving, the customer always comes first. Alright then, so tell me that I'm so fuming I don't even care. So, anyway, here is the story. It's 2 PM today and I am starving. I'm just coming back from the fast food joint down the street and I'm walking towards the break room with my food in hand, hoping to enjoy a quiet, peaceful lunch to re-energize myself so I can continue dealing with the endless waves of snarky customers that my workplace is notorious for attracting. Around the cities, she begins to follow me. I can feel her following me. And she begins to do that noise that is so freaking annoying. She does it about 3 times or so I realizes I'm not going to react to herself. The conversation goes a little something like this. Excuse me, she says. Oh, sorry, Mom, I'm on a break right now. But let me get one of the other employees to ask. Before having to reach my walkie-talkie to call someone to the aisle for help. She isn't having any of this. What? I will not be treated like this. I'm a valued customer and I demand to be treated as such. You will provide your service to me right now, and that is that. No questions asked. Mom, I'd be happy to help you, but my lunch break is only 30 minutes. I don't give a dang. I don't care if you're starving. The customer always comes first. At this point, I didn't even retaliate. I just turned around and ignored her as I walked into the break room with the key and shut the door behind me. She began to angrily pound on it for a few seconds until she finally stopped, presumably because the co-worker came to the rescue. I later found out that she complained to the manager, and of course, the manager simply brown-nosed her and told her that I would be dealt with, as an employee should never refuse service to a customer, even if they're on a break. This supposedly applies even if I call an employee over the walkie for help. Honestly, I'm just venting. I'm getting sick and freaking tired of this company and the management. Especially the customers though. Anyway, there's my rant. What the frick is wrong with people, man? Now, people in the comments of this post, which was originally posted on r/Tales from Retail, gave OP some very helpful advice, which he put into practice. Here is an update. So then, I decided to follow your guys' advice, and so I called corporate to claim that I was basically reprimanded for following policy and refusing service to a customer during my break. Of course, corporate immediately sided with me, and everything seemed like it was going to be fixed, and my name would be cleared. But no, of course not. In the world of retail, things aren't always so clear-cut. Lo and behold, there's another factor here. The freaking female dog apparently called corporate herself and basically demanded that I be fired. Now, it turns out they investigated, and since the audio is not available, the only thing seen was me walking away from the woman and slamming the brake door behind me. Now, you think that's bad enough, right? Wrong. Guess what? I asked the supervisor, who's a long-time buddy of mine, to check the punching sheets. It's automatically filled in by the computer, but is editable by management, just out of curiosity. And guess what? Someone's freaking deleted my break time that was logged into the system. So now, not only am I being accused of refusing service to a customer, but I'm also being accused of not coming out and leaving the premises to get food. What the frick, guys? Was this a computer error, or did the manager really do this on purpose to save his own butt? Or does he simply not like me? We do have a long history of run-ins with each other, and it's openly well known that he doesn't like it, to be fair. But guys, here is the thing. I will not lay down and die like a little dog. I will freaking fight this thing to the end. Even if right now it seems like I have no avenues. I don't know what I can do to fight this thing, but I will dang well try my hardest. Updates will follow if something new comes to light. Thanks. And don't you worry, guys, because just one day later, we got our second update. So, basically, two big things happened today, and I will try to explain them in as much detail as possible. One, I woke up bright and early and made a call to corporate. My plan here was simply to state that I needed my issue investigated further, even if it seemed like there was no problem on their end. As expected, the person on the other end of the phone told me the same thing that they'd already told me the first time I called. But then I said the magic word, Athena. As soon as I made the calm yet firm threat, that person immediately told me to hold on for a second. He got his supervisor on the line, to whom I explained my situation once again, and he assured me that he would see into the matter. Oh, and I also asked for a way to email the president of the company, and I sent an email to him explaining my situation as well. So, that was that, but I didn't stop there. See, I had another plan. I was going to catch my manager myself red-handed. You know, just in case corporate stuff too. So, the second thing then, I walk in and I immediately go into the manager's office. I stand in front of him and the conversation goes like this. I have to speak with you about something really important. Can it wait? I need to finish looking over these documents before 12. No, it can't wait. My supervisor told me that my clock in and clock out time from lunch 3 days ago was not on the log. I know I punched out in, so what happened? Huh, weird. I'll look into it. Alright? Oh, no need. See, I've already called corporate, and they said they'd look into it personally. At this point, I had the widest food-eating grin I've ever had in my life. It felt good, man. Real freaking good. The manager would be golden, right? No doubt good phrase. You know, that really wasn't necessary. You could have come to me about this first. Oh, I know, but I just didn't want to waste your time, seeing as how you're always busy. You have more important things to do, like look over documents. At this point, he visibly begins to get annoyed by my attitude and my sarcastic tone, but I'm just enjoying it way too much. Now listen, OP, I'm not really liking your tone right now. I apologize. Anyways, I just wanted to give you a heads up in case corporate asks you some questions. You know how they are. At this point, some of you might be thinking why I said that last part. Why? Because I had a small suspicion that since he is a recently made manager, 3 months on the job now, he probably didn't know that the system logs all deletions and re-entries. Sure, you'd be told this if you become manager, but I was trying my luck at this point. Because A, I don't see who else could have deleted my log times, and B, if it was him who deleted them, he obviously didn't know about the fact that deletions are tracked. So, what was my endgame there? Simple. I was hoping that due to this threat about corporate, he would simply go back and add my times back onto the log, And guess what? He did just that. A couple of minutes after our conversation, he comes up to me and says, I found out what apparently you didn't register your patches, but everything is fixed now. Your log times will be there. Wow, thanks. 2 hours into my shift, I see the manager leaving the store, angrily slapping the manager office's door on his way out. When I asked my supervisor buddy what happened, the convo went like this. Dude, why is he so angry? I don't know. He was with corporate on the phone for a few minutes. Why hold up, let me go find out. So my supervisor runs out the front doors to catch up with my manager. They talk for a while outside, after which my manager gets into his car and angrily drives off. Then my supervisor comes back outside and says, dude, sorry to tell you this, but he's screwed. The corporate found evidence of data tampering in the country. Apparently, he completed your times yesterday and had to stay this morning to cover his class. Wow. Yeah. How didn't he know about the system's ability to track that stuff? I don't know that. So there's that. He would probably get fired, and I would probably, well, keep my job. I could not have done that without you guys all your consent. And I certainly could not have come up with half of the ideas or thought processes that got me out of this hole. And for those of you saying that I should have just left it be instead of solving problems, no. That's not how you do things when someone is trying to screw with your life. Thanks again for all your support. I hope I've got more stories to share with you all in the near future. Hopefully customer related and not job threatening this time. Hopefully signing off. Peace. So there we go. Having looked through some of the comments on the first post that OP made, it's clear they had so much advice at their disposal. So many different ideas or ways to go about doing this. And what they did was brilliant. So fair play to the people of the internet and Reddit for giving such good tips. And yeah, ultimately helping OP come to this phenomenal conclusion. I've got to say, it's pretty cool that someone like this, who's in a bad spot of work, can go on the internet, post about their troubles, and get so much advice to just sort their situation out. And for the people that were saying, leave it, don't make too much of a big deal out of it, no, I think potentially could have lost their job over this. Absolutely not. I 100% agree. Good stuff.
Hi, I'm Yahoo HR. Yes, the actual software. Mom, and my job is to help growing businesses find and keep great people, which is really hard right now. But here's the thing. Hiring the right people the right way is too close to testing. Onboarding is too close to testing. It's too close to testing. Not to mention easy to use payroll. Reception. Try it for free at AmpleFocus.
The revenge story that you're about to hear is one of the most well thought out and executed plans that I've ever come across. No spoilers, but I'll give you a little hint. It involves 3 hours of continuous running along a certain route every day for 2 weeks straight. Weird, I know. Let's get into it. I got you a souvenir. Yeah, I got you fired from the post office. Sit back and enjoy the story about some revenge I achieved at the US Postal Service back in the 1990s. Because a bullying full-time carrier is a union job. In summer of 1991, I found a summer job as a casual carrier for the US Postal Service. They used to hire summer temps to cover for full-time carriers who mostly took their vacations in the summer. The USPS had, and they still have, rules that things had to be delivered within certain time windows. People could get fired if they took too long to do tasks. Carriers were both openly and secretly monitored and timed on tasks, and we had the first computer that I'd ever seen. They'd be secretly followed a few times per year to be sure they were working hard the entire time when they were outside the post office. The post office building even had secret map hallways, passive sound monitoring, and hidden raised viewing areas where they could see the sorting floor unobserved. Cameras and microphones were hella expensive back then, so this was all done with architecture and the eyes and ears of the postal inspectors. Folks walk over and punch in and out of tasks so that they could track productivity to the second. People walking a delivery route were expected to do it fast, and better routes went to faster carriers. Slow carriers got mercilessly hassled to be faster and with discipline for slowness. Look at Newman on Seinfeld. Going postal due to overwork was not really a joke there because people would flip out and murder their bosses. I hear it's worse now with GPS. Pre-internet, there used to be a huge volume of mail that got shuffled around the country every day. Quantities of mail that you would find hard to believe compared to what we see now. I was a broke college student over the summer and was willing to work any hours they gave me, so the supervisors liked me. I was also very friendly with most of the full-time carriers because I was a good worker and I didn't rock the boats. Also for other reasons that you'll see below. I am a fairly big guy, 6'5" or about 195 centimeters, and about 210 pounds back then. And I could carry a lot of weight, so that also made management happy. I was also in my early 20s with long legs, so I could move fast carrying a lot of weight. Sorting mail back then was labour intensive and took a lot of time to learn. I had a regular route that I would deliver in the afternoons that was sorted by a regular. I would usually do oddball delivery stuff in the mornings, help move heavy things around, do special deliveries, etc. I would also deliver for full-time carriers that went on vacation or whose T6 was on vacation. Side note, mail delivery is 6 times per week, but full-time carriers only work 5 days per week. The T6 is a full-time carrier who did the sick day of 5 routes. That way it works out that everyone only works 5 days per week. At the time, a lot of retail catalogs were mailed to houses. A lot of them. Some were substantially bigger than current magazines. We also delivered magazines, ads, packages, and samples. A lot of companies would mail free samples of products like laundry detergent, shampoo, and other liquids to be delivered to every house on the route. These were the main carriers' existence. They were bulky and heavy. This slows you down and is physically taxing. Usually, carriers would divide the very heavy stuff up and deliver it throughout the week. So, on to the revenge. I was assigned to do the T6 work for Dave, name changed, for a few months. Frickin' Dave. Picture a failed phys ed teacher in his 40s. Fat moustache, about 5'7", wore knockoff sunglasses like Magnum PIs, and had an opinion about everything. Dave learns he has me as his T6, and decides he will leave all of the heavy stuff for me. So, once a week, I got confronted with the entire week's worth of heavy mail and this butthole's fruit. I confronted him about it, and he basically laughed. Nothing I could do. The other full-time carriers didn't like Dave much either, but I was a temp, and he was there permanently, so I was encouraged to just suck it up. I went to our boss and escalated to our postmaster, but was told that he was full-time and I was a temp, and I didn't know what to do with it. If the mail needed to be delivered that day to meet the deadline, I had to make it happen. The postmaster's exact words were, "Let every piece of mail to the bridge as fast as you can, and don't worry about the time it takes or anything else. You're making huge overtime on that." Now, they didn't talk to Dave, and the most egregious stuff stopped, but I was still doing most of the hard work on this entire route. I mentioned earlier that everyone was always and attracted. In my first week, some of the nicer people took me aside at the beginning of the summer and made it clear to me that I was not to move quickly when delivering full-time carriage routes because it could make them look bad and cause trouble for them. As a temp, I could always take longer than full-time carriage too, because one, my job was limited, and the US Postal Service did not really track temps closely. 2, I had 0 experience, so everything should take me longer. 3, this was a union shop, and they would hate how to kick my butt for messing up their jobs. And 4, most of these people were awesome, and I wanted to be a team player. So, I was incentivized to move slowly and not make a bad situation out. I know I am very pro-union and pro-labor, and the US is not intended to knock unions, but the context is needed. I decided to wreck Dave's job since it was such a I requisitioned and was demanded to use 2 additional mail carrier bags. These are the over-the-shoulder satchels you see all the time. I was asked why, and I specifically told them it was to be able to carry all of the heavy items on Dave's routes without having to keep going back to my Jeep to reload along the way. The postmaster personally approved it. After doing Dave's routes 1 to 3 times per week, he called in sick a lot too. For a few weeks, I knew it very well and was staying on top of the heavy stuff. Once I was comfortable with the routes, I started running it. I would literally load up 3 mail bags for each segment of the route and jog or run his entire route. Dave's route took him about 4.5 hours per day to walk. This was probably accurate for him, and he'd been on the route for several years. I would finish it in 3 hours or less, every day, rain or shine, no matter how many magazines, samples, or packages were waiting. No one really noticed I was coming back so quickly and punching back out of delivering his fruits when I was only doing it a few times per week. I would come back, pick up other work, and get that done. The fun started approximately 2 weeks later, and I handed his fruits 6 days per week. Since I was doing the work right, there was never a backlog of heavy items landing on me once per week. So this made it even easier to jog or run his routes as I was back to using one mail bag. I was walking, jogging with enough to get it done quickly. I frequently got it done in under 3 hours and never took longer than about 3.5. My personal best was under 2.5 hours. I got pulled aside by my supervisor and the postmaster after the first week. They asked me about my timekeeping habits, and I confirmed that I was I would punch into through Archer, view the appropriate roles, and punch back in when the postmaster then asked me about those routes. I played completely dumb. He noted that I complained about the mail volume several weeks ago, and that I used to take 6, 7, or more hours to get it delivered. I explained that I was spreading the heavy deliveries out over the whole week, and that had really made a difference. He asked me if I was really delivering all the mail, and whether I was hiding or throwing away mail, a serious problem if true. I got very offended, and told him I delivered every piece of mail for the routes every day. Then I dropped the bomb. I told him I was having trouble understanding why this route was budgeted 4.5 hours to deliver when it clearly could be done much faster than that. I pointed out that it was a lot of dense multi-family housing, which means less walking. I told him lots of people on the route seemed surprised that I didn't want a soda pop or to sit down and talk for a minute like Dave always did with them. These were pure lies, by the way. This was all in my innocent, gosh, I want to help the USPS voice. I told the postmaster that I was delivering all the mail as fast as I could and not worrying about anything else. I jogged the route again for the next 6 days and kept getting it done in much less time than Dave. Dave didn't know about any of this. He made a point of finding me on his first day back to ask how I enjoyed doing all the hard work for him while he was vacationing. I told him I'd learned a lesson about how to treat your co-workers. He laughed at me and went back to sorting mail. He came back a few minutes later and said he got me a souvenir. He then pulled his middle finger out of his pocket. Classic Dave. That was my last week at the US Postal Service, and I headed back to college. I kept in touch with some of the friends I'd made there, and one of them was very happy to tell me that Dave was fired about 2 months after I left, due to the massive discrepancy in how long it took me and him to deliver that same route. The higher-ups audited this and discovered that he actually was lollygagging, taking unauthorized breaks, and apparently having an affair with a woman on his routes. All on the clock. I, on the other hand, was in great physical shape after all that running, and had pockets full of cash for that semester. His regular T6 also got most of the heavy stuff done for her, so she didn't get into any trouble for her delivery times, because she was swamped with heavy mail on her day. She actually bid for and got the route full time when Dave was shown the door. I do have more stories of my glorious summer at the US Postal Service, but crushing Dave is one of the highlights. Okay, wow, it's actually sensational revenge for so many reasons. First of all, the image I've got in my mind of you sprinting on this route for 2 weeks straight for over 2.5 hours is nuts. Just because you hate someone that much. I mean, I rate it very highly. You got the job done, but wow, that is a lot of effort. Second of all, I really liked how you didn't really do anything that was that bad. Yeah, sure, a couple of white lies in there, I can see that, I understand. But ultimately, Dave actually wasn't doing his job correctly. You know, he was wasting company time. And yeah, the company came to that conclusion in a weird way by you running the route, which by the way is still just so brilliant. I mean, that is just so good. But hey, he was rightfully fired for wasting company time, and he wasn't listening. So there you go. OP has actually said further down in the comments and stuff that Dave apparently was a horrible person to all the temps, not just him. It sounds to me like he was just a terrible person in general, bullying people for the sake of their medication. Yeah, that's fine, gone.
Finding the perfect suit can seem impossible, but finding one that's perfect for you is easy with Indochino. Choose your design and custom details. Then submit your measurements online or get measured in store for a custom made-for-you fit at an incredible price. And shop their new fall collection for seasonal styles. Find your perfect suit with Indochino. Get $50 off any purchase of $399 or more with promo code FALLUPDATE at Indochino.com. That's INDOCHINO.com. Promo code FALLUPDATE.
You should should always pay your accountant, especially if you've got skeletons in your closets. My buddy is an accountant. He has his own firm. His biggest clients are small to medium-sized businesses. Well, he had a client who owned 4 different clubs, bars in 2 different cities. The client was always shady, always slow on payment, etc. I was also a customer of one of the bars. They had a poker game that I would play in on Thursdays. One day, I'm at my buddy's house having a few beers, and he's complaining about non-payment from the clients. I ask who, but he doesn't want to say. But it's really bugging me since it's a significant amount of change. He then says to me, we'll call him Scott. I'm like, wow, Scott isn't paying you. He then says Scott is saying business is way down, and I think that's odd. I've been going to one of Scott's places, and every Thursday it's packed. My buddy looks at me and goes, really? I go, yeah, he does this new cash discount. 50% off your tab if you pay cash. My buddy goes, really? I tell him about my experience at Scott's bar, and eventually the topic changes. A few weeks later, my buddy calls me up and says, "You going to Scott's bar to play poker?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "Can I join?" And I say, "Sure." He joins, we get a few drinks in, some money at poker. My house is closer, he decides to crash there. On the way over, he brings down his theory. He thinks Scott is vastly underreporting his revenue. The reason why he suspects Scott is offering a cash discount is because the cash is provided. He says he's going to do a deep dive on Scott's finances. My friend tells me his plan is to go to all 4 Scott's establishments, get the privacy charges at each place, piece together how much alcohol is buying versus how much Scott is saying his revenue equates to. He looks up how much Scott is paying his payroll, rent bills, etc. He might get access to all of his income. And he determines that Scott is basically using credit card receipts and a little bit of cash to cover his costs in business, rent, payroll, insurance, liquor, food, etc. However, based upon the amount of products he's selling, he suspects Scott is underreporting his total income by about 35 to 40%. Back to Scott's review of Robin's figures in the last year, Scott's been underreporting his sales by 35%. He's also been underreporting his sales by 20 to 25% for years on end. Simply put, there is no way Scott is going through as much product and as much alcohol as he's purchasing and having the revenue numbers that he's claiming. He's underreporting his sales to his accountants, which means he's also underreporting his earnings to the IRS. By this point, Scott owes my friend thousands of dollars that he hasn't paid. He said the total amount could buy a brand new motorcycle. He never gave me the exact number. My friend decides, screw getting repayment from Scott at this point. Let's get repayment from the IRS through the whistleblower program. He's estimating Scott's underreported revenue by millions of dollars over the course of years. The whistleblower fees he earns from the IRS far outweigh the amount Scott owes. The IRS will pay between 15 to 30% of what they collect. So, with the assistance of a lawyer, my friend gathers all the evidence he has on Scott's underreporting to the IRS and files a whistleblower report with the IRS. During this time, my friend fires Scott as a client for non-payments. Now, this part gets boring because there's a lot of legal wrangling and back and forth, and this went back and forth. However, eventually the IRS comes down on Scott, and they come down hard. It's estimated that Scott underreported his income to the IRS by about $4.5 million. Now, my friend never told me how much the IRS is able to recoup, but Scott's businesses are no longer his businesses. At $4.5 million, with the whistleblower reward at $675,000 to $1.3 million. Right, it's based on what the IRS collects, not the amount that's reported. I've asked my friend how much he got in the end, and he simply says, "I no longer have a mortgage, and it would have been much cheaper for Scott to just pay me." Well, Scott, a little word of advice from me to you. If you're going to do this, and you're going to hide how much you're actually earning, surely the one person that you have to get up to date with payments is your accountant, given that they're the ones that are actually filing this with the IRS. If you're not paying them, like we saw, they're going to wonder what's going on. Delve a little deeper, and ultimately they'll want the money a lot more than
What? Friggin' mouse disconnected again.
Because there's no malicious stuff in here, is there? Like OP's friend wasn't paid by Julie owes him for doing his job. mom went through the whistleblower program completely legally and then got money completely legally from someone who was doing illegal things. It's just great. The definition of pro-revenge, just very efficient and got the desired effects. I love it. This entitled mom pulls one of the least funny pranks I've ever seen. She gets her son to sit in the hatchback part of a van while driving along and forces him to hold up a sign saying, "Help, I've been kidnapped." This is what happened next. Mum thinks it would be hilarious to have her kid hold up a sign saying he's been kidnapped. I am a former police officer who had to retire due to being badly injured. But this was one of my last calls before the incident that forced me to retire. I worked for a small town police department with only 5 or 6 officers on duty at any given time, and we each covered a vast swathe of land. My beat mainly was the rural area and county highway that passes throughout the little town. One clear sunny afternoon, I'm doing speed enforcement on the highway when my radio crackles to life of a possible kidnapping in progress. And the dispatcher proceeds to provide the details of the make and model of the car, including the female driver with short blonde hair. I proceed to get onto my computer to see if there are any details given about this. And sure enough, there is in the call list. It provides even more details, saying our vehicle is reported party, reports there are no kids, and that's part of the vehicle. The driver says, "Help, I'm being kidnapped, call 911, the hands seem to be tied together." While the call is within our jurisdiction, there's nowhere near it. There's nothing I can do at the moment, besides other officers and sheriff deputies who are already looking for it. All is quiet for the next 10 minutes. Everybody is behaving themselves and driving the street when my radio comes to life again. Reported kidnapping. Traveling south on the easy highway 123. And my ears perk up, and my heart starts to race as the vehicle is coming in my direction and will be here in any minutes. As I'm waiting for the call, dispatch gets 3 more calls from fellow drivers who have seen this young kid holding up the "Help, I've been kidnapped" sign and have called 911 to report it. With this stretch of highway being very flat, I'm able to see cars miles and miles away, especially if I'm using biners. And sure enough, here comes the van. And as the van passes me, I can see the female driver who matches the description used by the RPs, and the kid sitting up against the sidewalk in the hatchback area. I can pull out right away, just in case this is an honest to God kidnapping. I don't want to see the driver get into a high-speed chase. Not to mention my safety alone, and in this kind of situation, you want to have a decent amount of backup in case they decide to run, shoot it out, or whatever. So, I wait until she's a good mile or 2 away, and then I pull out and tail her from that distance until I can get some backup. Luckily, there is the highway patrol barracks not too far away, and they heard my call for assistance. Just as we pass the road that leads to the highway patrol barracks, I see 4 trooper vehicles pull out behind me.
Alright,
so I
that's
pull back and let
good
the
enough.
they lead. In case this turns into a chase.
Oh, look at that! That looks so satisfying.
We're talking about how we're going to approach the situation.
1, 2,
Are we going to do
1,
a
2,
stop,
3,
and
4,
proceed
5,
as a
6,
regular
7,
traffic
8,
stop
9.
and just pull the driver out
3,
of the
4,
vehicle?
5, 6,
Or
7,
are we going
8,
to do
9.
a full felony
9
stop?
levels, let's
We
go.
decided to do a full felony stop. So, we spread out across all 4 lanes of traffic and all turn our lights and blip our sirens at the same time. The female doesn't pull over to the side of the highway in the breakdown lane, but instead slammed on the brakes and stopped in the middle of the highway. We all position our vehicles to give us the maximum amount of coverage in case of a gunfight. Then get out with weapons drawn while ordering the female driver out of the vehicle. We should have known something was up when as soon as she got out of the vehicle, she started screaming, "It was a freaking joke!" But right now, we're not too interested in what she has to say. The point man keeps telling her to keep walking backwards until we tell her to stop and then get down on the ground. She complies and she's cuffed. Next, we turn our attention to the female passenger, who we didn't know at the time as we couldn't see her face, but she was the female driver's 13-year-old daughter. We ordered her backwards to get on the ground and cuffed her as well, and we did this for the next 4 passengers who were riding in the 4 seats in the back of the van. Once we got all perceived threats out of the vehicle and secured, 2 troopers went up to clear the vehicle, while another trooper and myself rescued the young boy who was bawling from the hatchback, and we put him in the back of one of our vehicles to get away from his perceived kidnappers. The whole time, mind you, the driver and front female passengers kept yelling, "It's a joke! He's my son!" or "My brother! I can't believe you guys!" So, after securing everybody in separate vehicles, we start to get to the bottom of this situation. first person we talk to is the young boy.
Alright, I'm
Calm
bored.
down after the female trooper got him a stuffed dinosaur.
Okay, we're done.
Snack.